Welcome to Toffee TV. Now, over the last few days, there's been a lot of talk about Harry Winks, the Spurs midfielder, whether it be a permanent deal, whether it be a loan deal. It certainly looks like Frank Lampard wants the player to come to Everton in some capacity. So, just before we get into some comparisons, what kind of player is Harry Winks? Where would you see him playing in the Everton side?
Oh, where would you see him playing? I'm going to say Spurs. I think he's a midfielder who thrives in a possession team. So obviously Frank Lampard's looked at us and we're not great with the ball. I think everybody has to accept that, wouldn't he? He tried it early on. When he come in, it didn't really work. I think he thought Donny van der Beek would do that for us, but it didn't quite happen for a number of reasons. And it seems like he wants someone who will get on the ball and recycle the ball for us and get us passing a bit more than what we did. Because at times we did have to go a little bit more direct, but I think it was to do with the personnel rather than the way he wanted to play. And that's the kind of player he is. He's someone who just keeps things ticking over. He's neat and tidy in possession. He's not fantastic defensively. He's not fantastic offensively. To be honest, he seems to be a more mobile Andre Gomez.
Is he the kind of player where you can look at all his numbers or look for the numbers that you want to, which for some people fit into what their parameters are: assist, goals, running, those kind of things. Do you think those kind of numbers just don't fit in with the kind of position he plays in that number 6 role, taking the ball off the back four and playing through the team?
He doesn't seem to be like a traditional number 6, as in what you think of breaking play up in front of the back four. We'll see in a minute with his tackles per game and stuff. He's not like a destructive number 6, so whereas Garner, unbelievable tackling stats, didn't he? He was tackle everything. He's not really like that, but he's someone who tries to just operate with the ball. I think Spurs used him with Højbjerg. Højbjerg had dropped naturally into that because that's his position, and Winks has played to the side of him. So Højbjerg win the ball and give it to Winks, and Winks will get the passing going. I'm trying to be as positive as I can, because he's not really someone I would have picked for Everton to go and get. I want someone in that role at the 6 to be destructive, to win the ball back for us and protect. And I want my other midfielders to go and get goals. And he doesn't really do either. That's not to say he's not a good footballer, because he's quite mobile as well. He's played for England, things like 10 caps for England and scored 1 goal. So he is a decent footballer, there's no question about it. And he's probably, in terms of what he does, he'll be better than anything we've got who does what Harry Winks does in terms of having the ball. Does that mean he's exactly what Everton need? I don't know.
Ultimately, though, like you mentioned before, it comes down to which way Frank Lampard wants to play, what he envisages in his mind. And what we did see last season, obviously Donny van der Beek came into the squad. First couple of games looked really positive, but he was always someone who was asking for the ball from the back four, and with very success. There was some games, I remember the Wolves game at home, where the back four just didn't want to give him the ball. He felt like, if it got taken off him in that position, we'd get caught out. But then when Fabian Delph came into the team, he did see a lot more of that ball. And I don't think his numbers would say that he was playing as a traditional number 6, a destroyer. He was playing more of getting the ball on the half turn and then playing it either wide or in front, or to the midfield in front of him. Meaning that we weren't always reliant on going down the wings, which for a heavy part of the season, early on, we really wide, and it went wide, and it made it really predictable, and we were easy to stop. You stopped us playing wide. The opposition knew that we weren't going through the middle. So, do you think that obviously having a player like him, the manager would be thinking greater possession numbers, more control over the game, and obviously we can move the ball into more central areas where we could find ourselves in some good areas?
Yeah, I think the problem at times with Everton is they were too one-dimensional, trying to get it wide. And once we lost, like Luca Dean, with his ability to put crosses in, we did lose something. The other players we've had in wide areas, Damari Gray or Anthony Gordon, for argument's sake, their crossing stats aren't exactly very good. It's definitely got to work on both. You know, both of those have got to do that work. So we never really replicated, what Luca Dean gave us. You know, we'd seen the year before how many goals Dominic Calvert-Lewin had got. Yes, he had supply from James Rodriguez as well and Gylfi Sigurdsson, but Luca Dean as well. And if you're going to have Dominic Calvert-Lewin, then you do have to have crosses, but that doesn't mean necessarily that you always should go down the wings. You know, if you can play through the middle or wide, you're opening up the pitch. Whereas if essentially teams know, well, they just try and get it wide and put a cross in, you're quite easy to play against. And I think Everton have got to get away from that. I think that was one of the issues. Now, what some people will be concerned about with the likes of a Harry Winks is he physically strong enough? He is slight, but he is combative, don't get me wrong, and he can get around the pitch. He's not slow, and he does like to have the ball. But I would still think Everton need another one in there with him, and an Abdoulaye Doucouré in there as well, which would suggest to me that Everton then need to play 3 in midfield. This is something Everton have had to do for a number of years, and we've never quite... I don't think we've quite done it as well as we ever did do it with Ross Barkley, Garner, and people like Schneidlin, or if McCarthy was in there, or people like when Gareth Barry was there, Barry, McCarthy and Barkley. Then when them 3 were in midfield, Everton seemed to be quite strong in there. I just think there's been a tendency lately to play with 2. But because of the makeup of those 2, we've been overrun so many times. So it is difficult to know. The manager seems to look at him and think, well, we can get him in. In terms of what they're looking at the minute, Spurs allegedly want 20 million. Everton apparently only want a loan deal, which is smart, I think, if you don't go and waste a big pot of money on someone that you're not sure about. But without knowing Frank Lampard's plans, it's hard.
I do believe that the position itself is a position that we really needed last season. I think having a player who's good on the ball, good under pressure, allows you to break the press of the opposition, taking that ball and under pressure, and then you know getting it through the lines of the opposition. I do think we struggled by not having one for large amounts of the season. And I think when Fabian Delph did play the odd game, I think it did calm us down a little bit. And when we had someone who could take the ball off the back 4, so they weren't being pressured and just going long with it or losing possession themselves, you know, because you see the likes of, how many times have we seen the likes of Mason Holgate dwelling on the ball, and the next minute the opposition's on them, and you know how many the goals we lost by our own mistakes, not having that player who comes and asks for it. So I do think the position is needed, certainly with the makeup of our midfield. So it's going to be interesting whether it is Harry Winks, whether he's the player obviously that Frank Lampard has looked and thought, right, he fits the bill for us, and if you can get him on loan, then maybe it gets you through this season when money's obviously going to be tight and is needed in obviously for areas where we need goals. So
well, we know that. We know Everton wants 2 centre midfield players this summer. So if you can get him in on loan, then what's your other one about? Is your other one a goal scorer midfielder? Is it Conor Gallagher, who does get goals from there and has loads of energy? Would Gallagher, Winks and Doucouré be a decent 3 in midfield for Everton? Quite possibly, because you're getting legs and energy, and then you've got Winks who's good on the ball. Something like that might work. I still want someone like Mo Camara from Salzburg, or Cheikh Doucouré from, you know, a combative midfield player who is decent on the ball and can compete. But if Everton were to get Winks and a Conor Gallagher, then that gives us some goals, because we've done the squad assessment thing at the end of the season. It's just glaring through the middle, and Harry Winks, for all is neat and tidy football and being comfortable in possession and getting your team playing, doesn't score goals and he doesn't get assists. Now, okay, assists can be deceiving. You can get an assist for passing the ball to someone in your own half and they dribble and score, but goals, you know, we need more goals from midfield and he doesn't get enough. So it's a tricky one without knowing what the whole picture is. But this just right now, there does have to be a little bit of, and I understand everyone's hesitancy, I do, I'm not telling anyone they're wrong for being sceptical whatsoever. He wouldn't be in my top half a dozen picks for centre midfield, bringing someone in. But we have to kind of, I think, allow the manager to start trying to put his plan together before we can fully look and go, I don't understand why we brought him in. Do you know what I mean? Because we could get him and everyone's going, oh, what's
you obviously
this?
have to, I think 2 players you haven't mentioned there that you have to factor into that are Alex Iwobi and Delhi, and where they fit into that grand plan with having possibly wing backs, or you know, or having your full back pushing high.
It's difficult because if it's going to be 3 at the back, then so you got 3-5. What are we playing? 3 in midfield and 2 central strikers then? If you're trying to play 3-4-3, then we're still saying there's only 2 in midfield. Harry Winks and who? Decore. All right, well, where's Iwobi then? So is Iwobi becoming a wing back or a winger? What's happening with Dele Alli? What's happening? And you're right, they're 2 names there. Then you look at and going, what's happening here? Because without knowing the plan, we're just guessing. But that, to me, Harry Winks just going into that midfield with what we've got ain't sufficient. That's in my opinion. That's not calling Winks. I'm just saying we need more.
Yeah.
I think we need.
But like you just said, it's how it all knits together, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's just look at Winks' numbers from last season.
So there you go. 19 games played. He started 9. These are Premier League games. I think he started 9 Premier League games. No goals, 1 assist. Passing accuracy 88%. Tackles per game just under 1 per game, and he wins 50% of his duels. Now, obviously, tackling, you can look and go, that's less than 1 a game. What's going on there? And that is a little bit mad for a midfield player, but it depends what his MO was. If Højbjerg's the destroyer, and Højbjerg's job to get it and pass it to Harry Winks, then his will be more about nicking in and getting interceptions and pressing people and getting on the ball and taking the ball and getting moves started. So just because you've got a midfielder who's less than 1 a game when he hasn't been playing in that natural position, stats can sometimes be a little bit, it can give you the wrong spin. But the caveat to that is, if we get him as a number 6, or if we get him as a number 8, if we get him as a number 6 and he hasn't been playing that position and his current stats are less than 1 a game, why are we choosing someone who doesn't? Again, we're going back into that square pegs round hole thing, and which Everton have seemed to do year after year for years. So again, we're preempting it, and Frank Lampard might say, we're getting another midfielder as well. He's just going to come in and be part of the squad and try, if we can get him on loan, and try to earn himself a permanent move here. That kind of transfer, you go, all right, I'm okay with that if he's trying to, if there's a plan, like we say.
Yeah, let's have a look at...
You're looking totally underwhelmed at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, what you got, before we look at comparisons, what is your gut feeling on him without being, you know, is it meh? Is it just another here we go again?
It's, that's what it's like. And I there's this school of thought, right, and I'm not going against it, but there's this school of thought, right, where it's like, you've got to let the manager do what he wants, and so far it's like Frank Lampard's proved nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. What he's proved so far to me is that he could see there was an issue and he changed things and he made us a little bit more defensive resilient. But he hasn't proved anything else to me.
And he can get the fans.
Yeah, and he gets the fans.
The clubs and the fans.
I get all that. I like all that. I like that. That's not a problem. But this thing of like, he's got my undying trust. I haven't.
But don't you? That's right. Yeah.
I'm not sitting here going, oh, give him the key. No.
But what I'm saying is the only thing, the caveat, the only thing to that is just because this is the start of the summer, we don't know how this kind of transfer.
But that's slightly different for what I'm saying. I'm like, let's see what happens.
See what happens.
But I am definitely not sitting here going, let him do what he wants. How many times have we done that?
I want to see. So we will get onto that. Sorry for interrupting. I want to see. We said it all week, haven't we? In other things we do. Someone come in who no one's talking about, and go right because that. No, but that to me will convince me that there is a thought process that isn't just. Harry Winks.
And don't get me wrong. It doesn't have to be about I don't know this player, so he must be good. That thing. But my point being is, we give Koeman had a very sort of successful first season, and then we sort of went, here's all the trust and here's all the money, and then that's what happens, and we're still suffering from that. I think some people, and I'm not telling anybody what to think, but I think some people should just be a little bit more cautious. Because we've been here before, and I get that Frank Lampard is the stuff. He gets the fans and all that. Acknowledging that the fans were brilliant at the end of the season doesn't mean I give him all my faith. No, I know, but that's the point though. Don't get carried away with staying up. Can
I ask you this then? Just because, but do we that can't be negative though, can we, about it?
There's a difference.
You know what I mean?
There's a difference.
We have to try to build momentum.
There's a difference between being negative, right? And I've seen this so far all summer. It's not even about being cautious, Baz. There's a difference between being negative and being realistic. There's a massive difference. You can, if negativity follows realism, that's just the way life is. You can't sit there going you can't have the dog meme. Everything's all right when it's not. And far too many people do that for my liking. Far too many people think we stayed up, everything's going to be rosy now. It's far from rosy. It's far from rosy. So I think there has to be a cautious approach. Just because we stayed up and Frank gets the fans doesn't mean anything as far as I'm concerned. I've been here far too many times before. And don't get me wrong, that's not me being negative. That's just me going, okay, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But this idea that you just go, if he wants Harry...
Blind faith.
By the way, if he wants Harry Winks, he'll sign Harry Winks. That's got nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with you. No, he'll sign him and we'll just talk about him every week. And if he's good, he's good. And if he's bad, he's bad. And it doesn't really matter. But this idea that people can't have their opinion just because either don't bring negativity into it. Behave yourselves. We're grown-ups.
I do think that negativity can go out of hand. No, I think you can be cautious absolutely be cautious and go. I've just said myself that I can name you six number sixes I'd rather pick this summer, and it probably wouldn't cost what Harry Winks cost, and they don't play in the Premier League. I could do that right now. They would be the ones I'd go after, but but you can have the conversation without being someone on either side going, you're being negative or you're being too positive. I'm just being, I'm looking at the situation going, I need to start being proved. These people need to start, these people need to start proving things to me before I start jumping in bed with everybody because we've done that loads of times now, and it's all right going, but this fella's different from the last. It's getting harder to do,
exactly.
That's the thing. But
you can't be, So let's have a little look at Decore, up against Decore from last season.
So here you go, obviously, Abdoulaye Decore played 30 games last season, scored 2 goals, got 4 assists, passing accuracy 80%, averaged 2.5 tackles per game, and won 49% of his duels. So, I mean, straight off there, you've got, obviously, the goals, the assists from Decore. Harry Winks won slightly more duels than Decore, with a much better passing accuracy.
Well, I mean, just off that one, though, they aren't the same kind of player.
No, and that's what we're talking about. If you had a 3 in midfield and you've got Decore on one side, if you just imagine like a V, so you'd have a traditional number 6, you'd have Winks on one side and Decore on the other. Well, then Harry Winks is going to be tasked with getting the ball and getting us playing, and Decore then should ideally be doing exactly what he used to do for Watford. And when he's been allowed to do it for Everton, has done it well, which is breaking into the penalty area.
Yeah.
You know, we remember goals at Old Trafford, breaking into the box. We remember him, even the game in the FA Cup when James slid it through against, it slipped my mind. Third round at Goodison, he scored the winner. Rotherham. Was it Rotherham? I think it was Rotherham. He runs through and knocks it in and we win the game 2-1 and things like that. They're the kind of decorer you want to see. He done it to us, against us, for Watford a few times. What has happened too often with Abdoulaye Doucouré is he's been asked to do other people's jobs here because he has got an unbelievable energy. He can get around
actually a proper
pitch.
number 6 without Doucouré.
Well, of course it would make him a better player, and he wouldn't always be trying to get him to start the attacks when every Evertonian will look at him some days and go, oh my God, he couldn't pass water today. And yet other games he's fantastic. So if you add him in there, then yeah, I think they both benefit. Let's have to see the next comparison, which is, of course, another one of our midfielders. It is Alan. So Alan's played 29 games last season, no goals. 2 assists, so 1 more than Harry Winks. Average, again, passing accuracy, 80%. So less than Winks. 2.6 tackles per game to Winks' 0.8. Alan wins 44% of his duels and Winks wins 50% of his duels. So again, Winks better passing accuracy. Neither of them score.
Well, that's a more fairer comparison because Alan plays more in that position, even though we both feel, I think, that he gets shoehorned into that position as well.
Of course he does.
He's not a proper number 6. He's not, because there is an idea that a number 6 is a destroyer, but I think, you know, the way the game's evolved, there is that player who goes and takes the ball off the back foot.
I'll give you one who was never a destroyer. Andrea Pirlo. No, I'm not. Before anyone takes this out of context, Harry Winks is not Andrea Pirlo.
No.
But what I mean is, Pirlo, who was an attacking midfielder early on in his career, a number 10, ended up going and sitting in front of a back four. Now, couldn't tackle. His passing range was fantastic, much better than Harry Winks.
Number 10.
Exactly, much better than Harry Winks. But what I mean is, the idea is you don't need to.
Yeah, there's two kinds of people who play in that position. There's that what you're saying, which is the deep line midfielder who takes the ball off the back four and then starts using it through the midfield. And then there's the other side of it, who is more the water carrier kind of player, the destroyer who sits in front of the back four. You know, the Lee Carsley of it. You know, and obviously, I think, you know, he looks at Harry Winks as being obviously the player who takes the ball off the back four. So Alan is probably one of the nearest comparisons.
Yeah, definitely.
But again, I don't think it's truly his position. The next one we've got is Andre Gomez.
I mean, it says Alan.
It says Alan,
but
it's Andre Gomez.
It's Andre Gomez, yeah. Last season, Andre Gomez, 14 games, no goals. Both had 1 assist. Now, a lot of people talk about Gomez, he's in the team for his passing accuracy and all that. Well, he's actually, out of the 3 we've put up so far, is the least. 77% he averages. What's incredible is Gomez averages slightly more tackles per game than Winks, which is mad, but only wins 40% of his duels, where Winks wins 50% of his duels. Harry Winks, obviously, far better passing accuracy than Gomez. You could liken him to Gomez, I guess, if you're talking about goals and assists. Neither of them get a lot, but Winks is far more mobile than Andre Gomez. Obviously a better passer and wins more of his duels. So whether you'd use him in that role, again, depends on who else comes in and how many people are in midfield. So if you went in the midfield too, Winks is more mobile to play in there, so he can cover the ground a bit more. When Gomez is in it too, we're in trouble, aren't we? But we did see, don't forget, early on in Frank Lampard's reign, when Alan and Gomez played against Brentford in that midfield, how they done it. They just alternated who come and took the ball off the back and went, and Gomez had a fantastic afternoon that day. Unfortunately, couldn't repeat it and finish the season poorly, but again, it's that big thing of goals, isn't it? Goals and assists, they're just not getting it. I mean, if we have a look at a comparison of here with the rest of our midfield players, you know, games played and goals scored. Doucouré, 339 career games, 40 goals. Andre Gomez, 313 career games, 25 goals. Alan, 468 games, 14 goals. Tom Davies, 159 7 goals, and Harry Winks 203 games and 5 goals. So quite clearly off that career games and goals, Winks 5 goals. You know,
yeah,
a goal every 40 games.
I will give him the benefit of the doubt on that. I don't think that's not his position to do that. I don't think I think that is a misleading stat. That's what I'm saying. That's a misleading stat. And I think assist is a misleading stat. I don't think you're truly ever going to do that playing in that position.
But just put it up because of that goals that are lacking
and
in
I
our
think
team.
that's what skews the argument, though, isn't it? At times as well. This is why again it's not always black and white. It's a position on the pitch where you're not necessarily looking for the goals.
Yeah.
You're looking for someone who's going to get your team going and going to get them moving up the pitch and allow you to keep possessions or beat the press, which is such an important thing now. So I don't necessarily look at those numbers thinking, oh, that's terrible. What I do worry about is spending, say, if we had to buy him, is spending £20 million on a player who doesn't get you goals and assists when in a team that doesn't have any other goals in it. That's what I worry about, especially if you're losing one of your top goal scorers.
Yeah.
So that's more to the worry for me. But I don't look at that and go, oh, he doesn't score enough, because that's not, for me, it's not his position. And it is a position we need to fill, by the way. I can't stress that enough. Whether he's the right man, that's that's another argument. At the moment, we've only got, you can throw all the names at me. He's the only one we're linked with in that position, and that's why we're talking about him.
Yeah.
And again, because we haven't got any, proper. I mean, we probably could have done with Fabian Delph's numbers, but we haven't been given those numbers. Just as a comparison, but on that, Tom Davies is probably, as we've seen it with our own eyes, the closest player we have in that. And for a lot of people, Tom Davies is not good enough. He's not strong enough. So we'll wait and see. Listen, if the manager's got an idea of how he wants to use him, and that includes a couple of other players coming in, then great. But
especially if he's alone.
Yeah, if
I think
it's
a lot
alone,
more people. I think people would be a lot more comfortable with it if it was a loan deal. I think whether Spurs are prepared to do that remains to be seen, doesn't it? Everton, the money will be tight this summer. We know that, and I'd rather Everton. Because he's 27 next February, so he's just saying 26 if he wants. It's one of them. I still think we need a more powerful, more mobile midfielder. And if we do get him on loan and then that other player, then I would look and go, well, you know what? Now I can understand what he's trying to do with the midfield. It is early, but he'll be an interesting one. But like you say, it'd be a lot more palatable if he was a loan deal.
There you go. Let us know your thoughts in the comments on Harry Winks. The pros and the cons. Just let us know your thoughts. What you've seen from him so far, let us know, and make sure you do that. Give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already. If you want more great videos, join us over on Patreon. The link is in the description, and the QR code will be on the screen right now. See you later.